reviser, but because this is a technical fix to existing law, I'm going to have us go ahead and move right to the proponent testimony. And we have virtual testimony from Crystal Punderbaugh. She is the Director of Academic Affairs for the Kansas Board of Regents, and she will actually be stepping us through each of those components of this technical fix. So, Crystal, can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I can hear you, yes.
Wonderful.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can. If you will just start stepping us through this.
Okay. Well, I didn't actually prepare. I'll go through the bill for the most part and then answer any questions as we go through. But I thank you for the opportunity to virtually appear before you today to submit testimony in support of this bill. As you know, the Kansas Board of Regents is the governing board of the state's 6 universities and the coordinating board for the state's community and technical colleges. But this bill is in particular to the board's regulatory authority of the private and out-of-state institutions operating in Kansas. So this is for institutions such as Grantham University and Rasmussen University, and smaller institutions such as Heartland Welding and Apex CDL Training. The board is provided with this regulatory authority under the Private and Out-of-State Post-Secondary Educational Institution Act. I do want to clarify that there is a group of nonprofit private schools known as independent institutions. So this is an institution such as Baker University. And these institutions have a long history in Kansas and are not under the authority of the board. They have been and will continue to be exempt from the act. Senate Bill 64 actually includes a proposed update to clarify the names of these institutions and to specifically list them as exempt from the act. Under current law, private and out-of-state institutions wishing to operate in Kansas must first obtain a board-issued certificate of approval to qualify for this certificate of approval. We review documentation that an institution submits to our office to determine compliance with minimum standards established by the Act. And once an institution receives a certificate of approval, it must submit an annual renewal application to document continued compliance. Over the past 10 years, the private post-secondary industry has experienced significant changes, such as the proliferation of online education, volatility in ownership structures and financial stability of some institutions, and school closures that often leave students with few options to continue or transfer their education. Senate Bill 64 would amend several of the provisions of the Act to align it with national best practices and to enhance enforcement mechanisms to facilitate compliance with the Act. Additionally, Senate Bill will assist institutions in their effort to remain Title IV eligible. The federal government requires any institution seeking Title IV eligibility to offer its students federal financial aid that they be legally authorized to provide educational programs within the state. New Section 1 of the bill allows institutions that are exempt from the Act to seek approval from the Board of Regents for purposes of participating in Title IV student aid as authorized under the Higher Education Act of 1965. Also, proposed amendments clarify Section 7 to ensure that institutions are not unnecessarily subject to duplicate oversight. So the Act will not apply if an institution is actively regulated by another regulatory agency of the state of Kansas. We did notify institutions that would clearly be impacted by the proposed changes, including the Kansas Health Science Center, which is a new osteopathic medical school located in Wichita. They are currently in the process of obtaining accreditation and will therefore be impacted by the proposed provisional certificate of approval status. We've worked with them to incorporate some of their suggested language. We also spoke with their accreditor to ensure that these changes will not impact the school's ability to continue operating or achieving accreditation. Overall, there are very few issues with institutions operating in Kansas. But I want to highlight how a strengthened act may prevent or better handle a couple of situations regarding institutions operating in Kansas. In March of 2015, Wright Career College, a degree-granting institution operating in Overland Park, was notified of its upcoming annual renewal application due date of May 20th. They submitted their renewal application in July, 2 months after their due date. 9 months later, students and faculty arrived for class only to find the doors locked and a sign posted that the school was closed. The students were not provided any teach-out options, which would have allowed students to transfer to another institution or to an option to continue their programs. Students were also not provided access to their student records, which meant that they were unable to validate their education. The proposed amendments would require institutions to provide the board with plans for teaching out students and maintaining of student records when a renewal application is deemed late. This will allow us time to work with the institution to facilitate a smooth transition if a school were to close. Another situation involves a non-degree school. Current law requires that institutions submit financial statements. However, upon review of the financial documents submitted by the particular school, I questioned the validity of the statements that they provided. And after a lot of back and forth and time, the school eventually provided us with audited financial statements, which confirmed that the originally submitted documents were in fact not accurate. We were able to rectify the situation and obtain accurate information so we could approve the renewal application, which we felt like was in the best interest of students since this was more of an administrative issue rather than an instructional issue. However, the school was not held accountable for providing misrepresented documents. Senate Bill 64 would add using fraud or misrepresentation to obtain a certificate of approval as a violation of the act and provide the board the ability to assess fines for the violations of an act. We feel that the ability to condition or fine an institution provides the board a progressive discipline process to gain compliance from an institution, rather than what we have now is just moving straight to a revocation process, which if we revocate, then that could actually cause more harm to the students. As I said, most of the schools operating in Kansas are doing what they're supposed to do and are in compliance, but the proposed amendments put measures in place and clean up and clarify in case there is a situation so that the state is prepared if there's an issue with a school providing education to Kansas students. I believe the written documentation that we provided to you does go through each of the items and changes, but in summary, the amendments fall into three categories. They clarify the board's authority as far as who falls within the jurisdiction of the act. It strengthens consumer protection and increases institutional accountability. I'm happy to answer any questions if there's specific questions about the updates.
Much. Next up, we have Matt Lindsay, President, Kansas Independent College Association. Welcome back, Matt.
Thank you for having me. Again, Matt Lindsay, President of the Kansas Independent College Association. I come here in support of Senate Bill 64 in partnership with our friends of the Regents. You heard from Crystal how we intersect with this bill, which is essentially we are explicitly exempt from this act. Why we like this bill is rather than being exempt altogether in a statement as all these schools collectively are exempt, each of us are named exempt specifically. Why that matters is it actually helps us with some federal complications around state authorization, that the U.S. Department of Education says every school needs to be authorized explicitly to operate within a state, and this actually would be a way of meeting that condition. So by naming us each, it satisfies that in a better way. So we are supportive of this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. So committee, right now, are there any questions with regard to these fixes that were requested by the Kansas Board of Regents with regard to their responsibilities to oversee those for-profit as well as those out-of-state institutions of higher education? Any questions? Senator Gossage.
So it's my understanding then, or could somebody clarify, they are saying that the Kansas Board of Regents, they're spelling out, we do not have jurisdiction over these, or they are saying that they do have some jurisdiction over out of state.
Okay, let's have Crystal. You want to go ahead and jump on that?
Sure. If there is an out-of-state institution that meets the physical presence definition, they would fall under the authority of the Board of Regents unless they are specifically exempted.
So they're not exempting, they're not naming everyone that's out of the state of Kansas. They're just saying unless they have a presence here, they do not fall under the authority of the Kansas Board.
Correct. Yes, and physical presence definition includes some online. So for example, we regulate several institutions that are physically located or are headquartered out of the state of California. And those institutions, since California is not a part of the state authorization reciprocity agreement, if they are offering online education to Kansas students while they remain in Kansas to take that coursework, they fall under the authority of the Board of Regents.
Any other questions? Seeing no further questions, I am going to close the hearing on Senate Bill number 64. At this time, we will move forward to Senate Bill 55, clarifying the authority of Healing Arts School clinics to provide healing arts services. And we will call on Tamara Lawrence to give us the bill brief for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the chair just said, Senate Bill 55 relates to healing arts schools. Current law requires a healing arts school to be approved by the State Board of Regents in order to be exempt from the prohibition on the corporate practice of healing arts. In 2017, Senate Bill 166 exempted Cleveland University from the Private and Out-of-State Post-Secondary Educational Institution Act that you just heard about. And because of that exemption, Cleveland University is no longer required to have State Board of Regents approval. This creates a little bit of a disconnect in the law because now Cleveland University no longer meets the requirements of the corporate practice of healing arts law. And I will say that last year, the legislature did attempt to cure this disconnect with an identical bill, Senate Bill 277. This committee did hear that bill and recommend it favorably for passage. It did pass the Senate and was heard in the House Education Committee. It passed out favorably, but died on the consent calendar. So Section 3 of Senate Bill 55 would cure that disconnect that I just mentioned. It would amend KSA 652877A to clarify that any law prohibiting the practice of healing arts by a business organization would not apply to a healing arts school clinic if it is under the supervision of a person licensed to practice the same branch of healing arts, so long as the healing arts school clinic is approved by the Board of Healing Arts, a nonprofit entity, and either approved by the Board of Regents or exempt from their approval. And that change would bring the law into harmony and cure that disconnect. Additionally, sections 1 and 2 of the bill clarify the law regarding training for students at affiliated off-campus clinics by adding the phrase healing arts school clinic authorized to perform services to the definition of qualified person in the Professional Corporation Law of Kansas and the Kansas Revised Limited Liability Company Act. And finally, the bill will take effect upon publication in the statute book. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Committee, do you have questions of our revisor? Senator Petty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tamara, was this, you said this bill was on the consent calendar in the House or the Senate?
No, I'm sorry if I misspoke. It passed out of the Senate Education Committee favorably. It passed the Senate of the whole, and then it passed the House Education Committee, but died on the House calendar when everything was adjourned early.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your review. At this time, we will call on Dr. Carl Cleveland, Doctor of Chiropractic and President of Cleveland University in Kansas City. Dr. Cleveland, welcome back to our new committee for this year. And if you would please share with us why this is important for your institution.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Carl Cleveland III. I'm president of Cleveland University, Kansas City. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit institution located in Overland Park, Kansas. The institution was founded in 1922 by Carl and Ruth Cleveland. They were chiropractors, and I'm honored to serve under the direction of 11-member board of trustees of the institution that my grandparents founded. This next year, 2022, we'll be celebrating our 100th year anniversary, our centennial anniversary, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak and request your support of SB 55. The university is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, the Council on Chiropractic Education, the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy. The degrees offered are Associate's degree in Occupational Therapy Assistance and Radiological Technology in biology, a bachelor's in biology, a bachelor's in exercise science, a master's in health promotion, and a doctor of chiropractic degree. The institution employs 140 faculty and staff and enrolls 590 students. 37% of those students are from the state of Kansas. And in the Doctor of Chiropractic degree program, the fourth year is a clinical internship that serves some 30,000 patient visits on site each year at the campus health center. Senate Bill 55, straightforward. It resolves a conflict between existing statutes, and it also clarifies the university's ability to expand its student intern education experience through establishing or affiliating with off-campus community clinics in underserved parts of the state of Kansas. With respect to the conflict of the statutes, because Cleveland was founded in Missouri and registered in Missouri, when the university relocated its faculty and students to Overland Park, Kansas in 2007, the institution operated as a Kansas foreign corporation under the statute 652877 with a regulatory authority under the Kansas Board of Regents. 5 years ago in 2017, the university joined the Kansas Independent College Association, a group of colleges that you're familiar with. They're nonprofit institutions that share a common interest as smaller institutions. And in 2017, the legislature exempted Cleveland from the Kansas Private Out-of-State Post-Secondary Educational Institution Act, whereby it amended KSA 7432-164. And as a result, the university was no longer under the authority of the regulation of the Kansas Board of Regents. Other private colleges that are under the authority of KSHA 7432-164, some 19 other institutions from Baker to Berkeley to Benedictine to Friends University, Southwestern College, University of St. Mary's, and then the others. And what SB 55 does is it resolves the conflict. And in such, it would create an exemption whereby an institution or a school of healing arts would either be approved by the Kansas Board of Regents or exempt under 7432-164. Passing this bill addresses the conflict in the statute. The second matter is to be able to establish and affiliate with off-campus community sites. The fourth year of the Doctor of Chiropractic program involves intensive oversight of interns treating patients for spine and related musculoskeletal disorders. It's a key part of our accredited program. And our objective is to be able to expand those services and expand the educational training of our interns by being able to establish these community clinics. So Senate Bill 55 clarifies the authority for the institution to establish these teaching clinics in our community. So with that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, we respectfully request the committee's support for this bill. I would be happy to respond to any questions.
Very much, Dr. Cleveland. At this time, we'll call again on Matt Lindsay to speak, President, Kansas Independent College Association.
Hello again, Matt Lindsay, President of the Kansas Independent College Association. I think Tamara and Dr. Cleveland have both summarized this extremely well. It's important, I think, to note the 2017 action relates to what I said a few minutes ago on the previous bill. The existing Private and Out-of-State Educational Institution Act exempts all of the KICA members, exempted in mass all of the KICA members except for one, Cleveland University, Kansas City. Because of what Dr. Cleveland said, they were founded in Missouri and in 2007 moved to Kansas. They look like any of the other private nonprofit colleges in the state. They are headquartered here, they educate in Kansas, they are nonprofit, they are regionally accredited. But because of the artifact of where they were chartered in 1920, in 1922, we needed to name them explicitly as exempt to be able to exist here in Kansas and do all the things that they already were set up to do. So this fixes something we didn't know we did when we passed that bill in 2017, and should help Cleveland meet their mission as we move forward. So we support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee, what questions do you have either for Dr. Cleveland or for Mr. Lindsay? Well, there we have it. The reviser, as well as our proponent testimony, answered all questions, and so I will close the hearing at this time. I do remind the committee that we do have one piece of written testimony, and that's from Travis Aller, Executive Director of Kansas Chiropractic Association. So we have now closed the hearing for Senate Bill 55. So committee, just as a reminder, on Monday, we will begin work on taking the bills that we have heard so far, and we will work them. So again, if you have any amendments, make sure that you touch base with either Tamara Lawrence or with Nick Myers on any of the prior bills that we have had hearings on. It is my plan that we will start, we will take baby steps, so we will start on Monday with the two bills that we heard today. Then we will work next on the bill that we heard yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking that was Senate Bill 32 on the concurrent enrollment. Okay, so we will work through that. We are going to be conscious of timeframes because, we have that 50 minutes to work within. So I think that we will, like I said, we will start with Senate Bill 64. Then we will move to Senate Bill 55. Then our third bill will be Senate Bill 32. I think that if we can get through all three of those during our committee meeting, and I think that we can, I think we'll probably stop there, and then we'll move on from that on Tuesday. So that's how we will begin, and we'll just keep moving forward. I would urge you that we do have the scholarship bill. Make sure that you get any amendments for those worked out with the revisers, because if we do move quickly through, then we will move on next to that. So we will just keep working until we have worked through our 50 minutes, and we'll go on from there. Any questions, committee? Yes, Senator Petty.
This isn't really a question. It's just before we adjourn, I wanted to publicly thank Cindy for sending out the agenda. I think it's very helpful to have that. I mean, you don't have to print it out, but I printed mine out. So that, particularly when we have, today was not so loaded, but when we have days like with Senate Bill 61, where there's so many conferees, it's very helpful to know the order, because I know it's not possible to have them in that order. So thank you.
I will say that our committee assistant has been putting in extra time, not only to serve our committee, but because she has served this committee, this is her second year helping us out. She's been also working to train other committee assistants and other office assistants. So not only has she served us so well, but she's been working to serve other committees as well. And I will just say that that is her kind, giving spirit. We appreciate that. We want you to get some rest this weekend. Okay? So, there we go. So committee, we are now adjourned.